What is up, everybody? This is SOS Rampage is coming back at you. I guess definitely coming back at you, but doing our first trial run of this new week. And this is something will probably come out a little bit earlier in the week next time, but doing our last little run of our DraftKings picks for this UFC Fight Night Blanchfield versus Barber this Saturday. Well, it's about to be tomorrow as we are doing this right now. Just trying to get our last little ideas in, last little reviews, last little, trying to take all of our information and trying to flip flop and fly, trying to see who's going to be in, who's going to be out, what fights are going to be canceled, what fights are going to stay. Kind of get all those last little, final thoughts and final things in there, trying to take it all into my brain. And then, we're going to put this out there. We're going to try to put this out there for myself because I want to talk about the MMA UFC product. I want to get that accountability out there for myself and my DraftKings stuff because, sometimes we hit, sometimes we don't. And I just kind of want to see what does and what doesn't. See what my record is at the end of the year, possibly. Have people, talk all that S in the comments. You tell me how wrong I am. Tell me your picks. I just, want to spread myself out there, spread my wings out there, and put that content out there to see how everybody feels about it. And like I said, do it a little bit differently than others. Not go through the full predictions, not go through the full, review of the card and different things like that. Just going with those brass tacks of this is who I picked for my DraftKings lineup, and this is where I'm going with and kind of why. And, people can do the same. Give me your 6 people that you picked and why and different things like that. So I appreciate anybody that's tuning in the content, that's interested in the content. Let me know in the comments if you are, if you're not, and all that good stuff. And check out all the other content on the side. I appreciate y'all. With that being said, we'll kind of go in the order of what it looks like is going to happen throughout the night. First off, we are starting, and I'm kind of going not underdog heavy, I would say, but like we have a decent couple underdogs in here because it is a little bit of a low-level fight card. We're starting off with Kurt Holloway over Jordan Levitt. He's technically going in as the underdog. You can get him at 7,500 over here, which is a decent number, especially for somebody, Kurt Holloway, where his real only way that he could lose is a real lazy decision or by submission. And Jordan Levitt's striking is just not quite on that level. His wrestling hasn't quite looked like on that level, and his jiu-jitsu has not quite looked at that top level as Holloway's. As long as Holloway doesn't play guard off of his back like he's done in the past, like he's done in all other fights that he's lost, like the Hernandez fight, like the Trey Ogden fight, which were very, very frustrating fights to watch. But, we're going to stick with the man. We're going to stick with, that tried and true. Just talked about the Ultimate Fighter a second ago, just coming off the Ultimate Fighter not that long ago. Next, it seems like on the card is going to be a really, really close fight between Alan Nascimento and Mr. Jafil Fiallo. I'm going with that underdog again, and this is a big part of it being Nascimento being off for 2 years, having that layoff, having that long layoff, hoping that, and Fiallo really looking like he could be that top contender. Both of them looking like they're good contenders, but going with that layoff, trying to keep who's been more active, who, just that in general, that who's been a little bit more active. And I think it's a close fight in general, where you can get Fiallo still at 7,600. So that takes care of a couple underdogs for you right off the bat. So you don't have to be diving too deep for some underdogs. And you can get them for some decent, price right there. And that way you can kind of take care of what you need to on the rest of the night. Kind of going with the numbers game here. And I think this is also, I don't know exactly where the main card seems to be sitting right now. I have Macy Chiasson at that 8,000 spot right here. I mean, she's technically still the underdog against Ketlin Vieira. The danger of Macy, if Macy wins, it's going to be something brutal. And I think right now she's at that point where she's kind of pushing that pressure. She does seem to be bringing it a little bit more. I mean, I think she smells that if she does have a good finish, if she does have a good performance, she could really ascend herself into that title picture sooner rather than later. So I think she's really going to be going after it more than usual, and she already kind of goes after it like that. So, and I think that, like I said, getting that good number right there is definitely something we're really looking forward towards. Speaking of kind of around that number, I have Billy Ray Goff over Raheem Brahimaj. Goff just looking like he's a decent prospect, as well as Brahimaj just looking like he might be a washed up prospect. So maybe Brahimaj can prove me a little bit wrong, and that might be my one that I got. But I don't know. Billy Ray, just like I said, it looks like he's bringing it on strong. He almost looks kind of what I can't say what Brahimaj looked like in the beginning, because Brahimaj never really had that striking that Goff has been showing off right now. But just the grit that he's been showing, I think all around, I just don't really see the danger, especially on the feet. And even on the ground, I think Goff could keep the pressure going and keep it up enough to, push Brahimaj in situations. And he didn't look great in that last fight. Last two we got are our big kind of looking for our knockouts at the end of the night, looking for our big guys to kind of take care of things. We have Dustin Jacoby sitting there at 8,800 still. I think it's a solid pick just because of Jacoby's kickboxing background, because of his power that he has shown, because he has been able to take out lower level prospects. I mean, I don't see Lopez being any better than Petrino when he was able to take care of Petrino. So I think it's at least a safe enough pick that he's going to at least win a decision, if not possibly get that knockout. And that's really what we're kind of looking for. And even if we do kind of look around right now, unless you're really high, and we'll talk about it, and I'll throw this out there right now as kind of the side pick, because I did not pick the main event, and I usually kind of stay out of the main event unless I see a lock there. But I mean, Blanchfield's a nice, that's one that you could go with. But Blanchfield and Barber is a very, very, it's a close fight to call. And I don't know if you want to risk, like, that would be another big one that you could go up there with. And, like I said, it's if Macy Barber has not looked so as good as she has lately, I would say, yeah, Blanchfield, great. But I think the safer pick right now is that Jacoby pick. And I think that could, make sure that nothing happens. Because, I mean, you can even see in the records at the bottom, 13-2 and 14-2. It's very even as far as that's concerned. So that's what I said. I'd rather go with something a little bit safer, with Lopez not necessarily being at that higher level. And then our last pick that we have taken is Zach Reese versus Dusko Todorovic. A lot of it being because Todorovic seems like that busted prospect at this point. And just Zach Reese seems like he has the power to be able to take care of business, and I mean, possibly the wrestling to be able to take care of himself on the ground if it does happen to get there. But hopefully Zach Reese with the power, and Dusko being a little bit on the chinnier side of things. But I mean, there's still a chance that Reese could get caught as well. But I'm really kind of leaning towards Reese and locking that in as far as like another knockout that I'm hoping to get out of this. And that's kind of where I'm staying on things. That's where, and this is, like I said, putting these out there just to try to do something a little bit different, try to put different type of content out there, trying to, like I said, lead into that DraftKings 6 pick instead of doing, the regular fight picks. Trying to keep myself accountable so that it's locked in. I've said it in a video. I can't move it because I have that thing where I've jumped off of fighters the last minute that end up winning. And, I think everybody has that, when they do their betting and stuff like that, where, you're really locked on to somebody you're feeling a strong way. And then you're like, I'm going to go off of them. And then they end up, pulling off a big win. So keep myself accountable and keep myself locked into the people that I did select and that I did pick. So if you have any suggestions, if you have any comments about who you picked, all that good stuff, let me know in the comments. I think next time I might have like a banner of, who I think is going to win. I'm going to have that scrolling at the bottom. I think that's the one adjustment, after doing this, I would give myself right now, because I think that would help out. But yeah, I appreciate anybody that tunes into the content, this content right here. Anybody that tunes into the future content, anybody that tunes into the side content, check out the gaming UFC 5 content, whether it be the career, whether it be the shorts. Check out, my WWE content, check out Fortnite content, check out all the different things, and check out the new MMA content that I'm, be starting to put out weekly, the Ultimate Fighter, as well as, our new DraftKings weekly predictions of what we got going on over here. That being said, I appreciate anybody and everybody that has listened and joined along. And we're going to keep these nice and short as well because we're only picking 6 fights. So we'll catch y'all later. Catch me on Twitch as well tomorrow night during the fights of this SOS Rampage's handle to see live reactions. And you can clown on me about all my picks live there. So that being said, I will catch y'all later.